Today, I'm testing out cases for the Galaxy S26 Ultra, so you don't have to. So we have 10 different phone cases that we're going to be testing out today, and I'm going to be ranking them on a scale out of 5 for the following categories: unique features, design, drop protection, and MagSafe compatibility. And full disclosure, I bought every single one of these cases with my own money, so none of this is sponsored. Let's get on with it. Starting off with the most unique case on this list is the Pitaka case. As you can see on the S26 Ultra, you have a volume up and down button as well as the power button on the right side and nothing on the left. But when you put on the case, you can still see those volume and power buttons on the right side, but you now have 3 additional buttons on the left side. So how does this work? These buttons are actually NFC tagged, and you can program each button to do a different feature in the app. Right now I have the top button set so that when I press it, it opens up the macro factor food logging app that I use to track my diet. I have the middle button set to turn on the flashlight, and the bottom button to quickly access the camera app. You can also set these buttons to work with the Modes and Routine app and do different functions. One thing to keep in mind is that because these buttons are NFC tagged, you will need your phone unlocked to be able to access these. So for things like the flashlight and the camera app, they will not work and you won't be able to access them when your phone is still locked. In terms of unique feature, this is probably the most unique feature I've ever seen on a phone case, so this is definitely getting a 5 out of 5. Now the design of this case is also really nice. It's made of an Aramid fiber, and I actually got the sunset color, which I think looks really cool. It has these very nice accented bronze buttons and camera cutout, and you even have slight engravings on the NFC tagged buttons. The case feels like it's made out of rubber and is pretty grippy. On the back, if you run your finger over it, it actually has a very nice woven texture. You have perfect cutout for the cameras with that accented bronze. You have these rounded corners that are slightly inset. It has cutouts for the speakers and the pen, and the inside actually has a fabric texture inside, which I appreciate to make sure your phone doesn't get scratched. With this case, it does minimize the camera wobble a little bit. For the design, I really like how this looks, so this is getting a 5 out of 5 for me too. In terms of drop protection, you obviously have the raised corners for the cameras, and the corners feel nice and padded, so it feels decently solid for drops. However, this is only getting a 3 out of 5 for drop protection because while the edges are raised to protect the screen, they're only raised ever so slightly. This helps keep the low profile design of the case, but it probably won't offer too much protection if it lands flat on the screen. In terms of MagSafe compatibility, it does have MagSafe, and I rated a 4 out of 5 for the strength. Next on the list is the Aulumu Aramid fiber case. This one is pretty unique because it has a super slim low profile. It probably feels the most like running a phone naked without it actually being naked. You have these ventilation holes and heat dissipation pads near the camera, and I give this a 4 out of 5 for uniqueness because I really like running phone cases naked, but I've always been worried about protection, and this case actually makes it feel like I'm running the phone naked. Now the case is made out of an Aramid fiber. The design is super sleek and fits the sci-fi futuristic theme that Aulumu is known for. You have these heat dissipation holes and a temperature sensor that actually changes color when your phone gets hotter. The camera cutouts are perfectly cut out, and the case actually doesn't cover the sides for your buttons and the pen and the charging port. It actually feels decently grippy, and I think if your hands are sweaty, they'd actually be even more grippy. And I feel like if your hands were super dry, it would still be pretty decent to grip onto. The camera wobble does get minimized, although not much because of how low profile this case is. In terms of drop protection, you do have some raised bumps to protect the cameras, but on the screen it has the same problem as the Pitaka, with only very slight raised edges to protect the screen. Overall for design, I'm going to give this a 5 out of 5, but for drop protection, it's going to get a 2 out of 5. I really do think that if you do want that naked phone experience, this is the way to go. You will be sacrificing some protection, although it's still going to be better than nothing. And for MagSafe compatibility, this does have MagSafe and it's going to get a 5 out of 5. It feels super strong. Next on the list is the Aulumu Frosted case. This is going to get a 2 out of 5 for unique features. You do have an aluminum alloy ring for the camera to protect it, but that's about it. Otherwise, it's a pretty simple case. The case itself is made out of a TPU material. The design is super sleek, still fits that Aulumu sci-fi futuristic vibe. You have perfect cutouts for the cameras, and the buttons are super clicky. One really cool thing is that this case is actually glow in the dark. So when it gets hit by UV light, it'll charge up, and then it'll glow in the dark. The sides are slightly inset and ridged, making it super nice to hold and actually feels surprisingly grippy. Usually TPU cases feel super slippery to me, but this one actually feels surprisingly grippy. The camera wobble is decently minimized. For design, I'll give this a 4 out of 5. For drop protection, it does have raised bumps to protect the cameras and raised edges to protect the screen, and you do have the aluminum frame around the cameras, so it's going to get a 4 out of 5 for drop protection. For MagSafe compatibility, this does have MagSafe, and it's going to get a 4 out of 5 for strength. Next, we have the ESR clear case. This is definitely the most simple case on this list, but that's exactly what it's designed for. For uniqueness, this is going to get a 1 out of 5 because there's nothing really unique about it, and that's exactly how it's designed. You have a clear case to see the natural color of your phone, and I actually think that works pretty well in this case because I have the Cobalt Violet S26 Ultra color, which I really like, and this clear case lets me see that. However, I personally don't like the MagSafe ring being visible in the middle, but obviously there's not much you can do about it because the only way that you won't see it in a clear case is if you actually don't have MagSafe. You have a rubber texture, it feels pretty grippy. You have these outside corners that are very slight and actually make for a little more drop protection, and the rubber buttons are just a part of the case and pressed against the buttons on the phone. You have a cutout for speakers and pen and a lanyard cutout. Because it is clear, in some lighting you will see a little bit more fingerprints. It has all the features you need, but it's a very simple design, and because I personally don't like seeing the MagSafe, it's going to get a 3 out of 5 for design. You do have those outside corners for drop protection like I mentioned. You have raised bumps to protect the cameras as well as raised edges to protect the screens. So for drop protection, it's going to get a 4 out of 5. And for MagSafe compatibility, it is super strong. I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5. Next, we have the UAG Plasma XTE 360. Now the unique thing about this phone case is that it has a kickstand and it's built like a tank. So you have the ring phone stand, which also doubles as a phone grip. It feels super solid. Some of them actually feel pretty flimsy and might snap if you prop your phone up, but this one feels really nice. You can rotate the ring 360 degrees and actually clicks on every 180-degree rotation. You can use it to prop the phone up in landscape and portrait orientations. For the kickstand ring, it does not sit flush against the case, so something to keep in mind if you don't like that. This is going to get a 3 out of 5 for uniqueness because while it does have a kickstand, kickstands aren't super new and they've been part of cases for a while. Now UAG stands for Urban Armor Gear, and their phone cases are designed for protection. You have this clear see-through material on the back, which is like a frosted black, and then you have black rubber on the sides. The rubber texture is pretty grippy. You have huge raised protection pieces all around the phone, and because of this, it honestly feels pretty bulky. Because there's so much raised edges on the back, the whole back of the phone is pretty much flat now, and the camera wobble is completely gone. The rubber buttons are just a part of the case, and the case is so dense that it honestly is a little bit harder to press than the other cases. You have cutouts for the speakers and the pen, and because you have those raised protection pieces, the pen is kind of hard to get out. For design, it's going to get a 3 out of 5 because it's definitely designed for protection, but it does feel a little bit bulky. Obviously, drop protection is going to get a 5 out of 5 because of all the huge raised protection pieces on the back, around the cameras, and on the edges to protect the screen. For MagSafe compatibility, these magnets are decently strong, so it's going to get a 4 out of 5. Next, we have the Spigen Optik armor case. The unique feature on this is that it has a camera cover. If you're like me, sometimes you like to put your phone in your pocket with something else like wallets, keys, or any filter covers. This camera cover lets you slide it open and close to protect the cameras. It clicks into place when you open and close it, and it feels decently solid. It doesn't feel like it'll break unless you randomly pull up on it. For uniqueness, this is going to get a 4 out of 5. For the case itself, I went with the Abyss green color. It has this faux leather material on the back, but it kind of feels like faux leather, if you get what I mean. The camera cover has this rich design. You have the smooth rubber texture, a little bit slippery, although it's still definitely more on the grippy side, and you also have these slight ridges on the side to help with grip. The camera is obviously fully covered, but even when you open it, you can see that the protection is pretty good. Because of the camera cover design, you no longer have one side offsetting the other, and the side-to-side wobble is gone. Now the top is raised more than the button, but because of the length of the phone, there's no wobble there either. The buttons feel decently clicky, has cutouts for the speakers and the pen, and has a lanyard cutout. Overall for design, I'm gonna give this a 3 out of 5. I'm not a huge fan of how the camera cover looks. I wish they made the cover also copy the rich design on the right side so that it would blend in a little bit more. For drop protection, it has raised bumps to protect the cameras as well as raised edges to protect the screens, so it's gonna get a 4 out of 5. And for MagSafe compatibility, there's actually no MagSafe on this, which I'm pretty surprised about, so it's going to get a 0 out of 5. Next, we have the Torras Q3 VegSkin. The unique feature is that this is made out of vegan leather and it has a 360-degree kickstand. This kickstand clicks on every 90-degree rotation and it feels pretty solid. For uniqueness, it's going to get a 3 out of 5. Now I went with the purple color. You have this vegan leather on the back, which is kind of resistant to liquids and stains. You have this super nice gold border around the cameras and the ring, and I actually really like this color. You're also getting a two-tone design with the purple on the back to match the phone and the black on the sides. The camera cutouts are raised and beveled towards the camera, and I love this design. You have super clicky buttons, you have this nice fabric on the inside that I like, and the sides are slightly inset. Combined with the rubber sides and vegan leather back, and the kickstand as well, this phone case is very grippy and nice to hold. The camera wobble is definitely more minimized, and for design, this is going to get a 4 out of 5. For drop protection, you have raised bumps to protect the cameras, as well as raised edges to protect the screens, so this is going to get a 4 out of 5 as well. The kickstand is also flush against the back of the phone, which I prefer. For MagSafe compatibility, this is going to get a 5 out of 5. It feels super strong. Next, we have the Torras Q3 Air. Now this is pretty unique because it has the Air Max airbag technology, which basically has airbags on the top and bottom of the case. And when you press down on it with something hard, you can actually see the airbags working. This also has a 360-degree kickstand. It feels super solid again, and it clicks on every 90-degree rotation. For unique features, it's going to get a 5 out of 5. Now I went with the violet surge color. This does feel like a TPU material, and you do have the airbags that make it feel super protected, but the case itself actually doesn't feel bulky. It has rubber sides with a pretty grippy texture. You have these nice orange accents on the button, they're super clicky. You have the camera cutters that are raised and bevel towards the camera, and the camera wobble is minimized. In terms of design, this is going to get a 4 out of 5. For drop protection, you obviously have the airbags that are the standout feature. You also have the raised bumps to protect the cameras while still being low profile, and you have the raised edges to protect the screen. In terms of drop protection, this is going to get a 5 out of 5. You also have the MagSafe ring that's flush against the back of the case. And for MagSafe compatibility, you're going to get a 5 out of 5, and the magnets feel super strong. Next, we have the Spigen Ultra Hybrid Neo 1. Overall, it's a pretty simple case. There's nothing too much unique about it. They do say that they have an air cushion technology, although it kind of just seems like the case is a little bit thicker, unlike the Torras airbags where you can actually see the airbags being squished. For uniqueness, is it going to get a 3 out of 5. For the design, I really like how this looks. You have the X-ray view, so you're basically seeing where the chipset and the electronics and everything else is on the phone. And unlike the ESR clear case, this uses the design of the X-ray to hide the MagSafe ring that I didn't like showing. I do think that this case looks better with a white phone though for that kind of stormtrooper look. Because this is cobalt violet and it is a darker color, it is kind of hard to see the X-ray design on the case. Now the whole thing is rubber, but it actually feels surprisingly grippy. This is my favorite case when I was using this on my old phone. I had no problems with the grip at all. The X-ray texture is slightly raised so you can feel it. The camera cutters are raised, and the camera wobble is somewhat minimized, and you do have a lanyard cutout. For design, I'm gonna give this a 4 out of 5. Like I mentioned, I used this on my old phone, which was white, so the phone case actually looked really cool on it. But I do think that I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5 because depending on what color phone you have, it will be harder to see the X-ray texture. Now Spigen does sell one that's called 01 white, which I think would work better with darker phones, but the design is a little bit different. You're not going to get this X-ray design. In terms of drop protection, it has a raised bumps to protect the cameras while still being low profile. It has the raised edges to protect the screen, and it has the air cushion technology. Kind of. It still feels pretty solid, so it's going to get a 4.5 out of 5. And for MagSafe compatibility, yes, super strong magnets, so it's going to get a 5 out of 5. And for our last phone case, this is the Spigen Slim Armor CS. Now the unique thing is that this has a wallet card holder built in, and it can actually hold 2 cards. This is a design when you only want to carry 1 or 2 cards around, maybe something like transit cards or credit cards when tap doesn't work, and it's not really designed for you to be taking them in and out every single time you want to use it. It's just to have them with you just in case. For unique features, this is going to get a 4 out of 5 because I really like how it integrates into the case, unlike a MagSafe wallet which kind of sticks out above the case, which I personally don't like. So I like that this is built into the phone. For design, it has a super smooth plastic on the back where the card holder is. It has this rich design near the cameras. You have a slight rubber sides, although I can kind of see this being a little slippery sometimes. And you have these rubber texture buttons. The camera cutters are slightly raised, and the wobble is completely gone because the highest part is no longer where the camera is. It's this huge area where your cards would be. So because of this, this has the least camera wobble. You also have a lanyard cutout. Overall for design, it's pretty cool how they integrated the wallet into the phone case, but I personally don't like how this looks, so this is going to get a 3 out of 5. For drop protection, it does have raised bumps to protect the cameras while still being low profile, and it has raised edges to protect the screen. I personally don't like plastic being on the back of the phone. I personally think that it might break after you drop it a couple of times, so I'm going to give this a 3 out of 5 for drop protection. And for MagSafe compatibility, because this is where your cards go, you have no MagSafe, so this is going to get a 0 out of 5. Alright, and that's all the cases that we have here for the Galaxy S26 Ultra. Which one of these was your favorite? Let me know down in the comments below. If you have questions about any of these phone cases, let me know down in the comments below as well. If you liked this video, remember to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to see more photo video content, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.